Hey, we got some people in the chat, so why sit here and wait? Let's just pop on and get going. Because guys, we got a lot of fun things to talk about. Uh, Joey's going to be coming on here soon, and we're just going to have a great old time. So Daredevil, how you doing tonight? So Daredevil, do you have a college football team that you're a fan of out there in the West Coast? Do you? Hey, I'm just going to say hey to Jackson and Jer, Dave Brown. Thanks for popping on. And Jackson Johnson popped in real early. So, guys, I'm going to bring in my right-hand man. But before we do that, I'm going to play. We're going to do a little intro action. So, guys, thanks for tuning in. We're going to have a great night. So, we're back. And guess who's back? Not only me, but I brought Joey with me. Let's bring Joey on the show. Joey, I'm so happy to be here.
I like your show every week. We just come in there and hang out. Enjoyed it last week.
I don't know. Maybe I should pull up a picture, but I don't think I need to because everybody pretty much has seen pictures of the old ball coach. But so if you haven't noticed, Neil Brown has a little bit of sassiness to him. Have you noticed that, Joe?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
A lot of sassiness.
He's pissed.
Not being a smart ass, but like matter of fact. Before he'd be like, yeah, kind of diplomatic and very polite, but he's like, no, this is not right. You guys are full of shit. And he's holding people
top 100 players that never made it to W. They never got to West Virginia, he said. On an ESPN show on the SEC network. Put them out.
Shoot them out. And I love it. And you know what? It helps. It helps that Pat McAfee setting Kirk Herbstreit right and holding his feet to the fire. It helps that Neil Brown has a contract extension, and I think a lot of fans have bought into what he's selling and are feeling that vibe.
They better buy in. Because I think Neil Brown's here to stay for a while. I can't promise that he's going to stay forever because I think he's going to get another. I think he'll get a job offer, probably to Kentucky, if Beamer goes away there, or not Beamer. Jesus.
No, I know what you're talking about.
If Stoops goes away, I just feel like Neil Brown would take a Kentucky job. I don't see him taking any other job, to be honest with you, other than Kentucky. But at the same time, I think West Virginia is a great fit for Neil Brown. I think Neil Brown's a great fit at West Virginia. I love his recruiting efforts. I love his recruiting period. So much better than when Holgorsen was there. So much better. I mean, just tremendous. Now, has he got to the Rich Rod and Bill Stewart recruiting era days? Probably not. We had number 9 class in the country a couple of years, and number 11 class in the country back in those days. But we're up into the 30s now, where we were in the 60s and 70s under Dana Holgorsen, and even lower than that some years. So we're up in the 30s now, and we're sticking in the top 25 for next year in some polls, going back and forth. So but we're still up there in the top 35. So I'm happy with Neil Brown.
Yeah, I really dig his recruiting, his the way he's, we talked, and I talked last show about this. We did an interview with two parents of two Division I football players, and it wasn't. They said there were some fantastic weight rooms. They met some very famous coaches. However, the biggest thing for them was coaching stability. And the Mountaineers have coaching stability. They have any NIL funds. But, they even bring in a few celebrities here and there. They brought in a country music star that's a West Virginia native 2 years running. And he even picked up on the fact that these kids, it's not that they have more confidence. He said, I'm going to use his words, more like laser focused. They seem more focused than last year. So last year was more like a, motivational enema type of thing. And this year they don't need that. They're just like, they got the 1,000-yard stare.
I just love how they're so well spoken. And the thing about it is, back in the 80s and 90s, when West Virginia was really underrated, our players had attitudes. I'm talking like back when Brian Josephiak and Eugene Napoleon then played. They had attitudes. Those attitudes were, hey, we'll knock your freaking block off. Yeah. We will punch you right straight in the mouth, and we don't care. You might beat us in the game, but you're going to know you was in a game. And we're getting that right now out of friggin' transfers in their first year coming to West Virginia from Northwestern. Hollis comes in, does an interview, and talks about, hey, this team is faster than our defense at Northwestern. They can run sideline to sideline. They're a better defense than the team we had in Nebraska at Northwestern. And Northwestern didn't have a bad defense at all. They went 8-4. So Northwestern was a pretty good team last year. And he's saying this one is better. This is a lot better team than the Northwestern team was. And he said, bottom line, this is his words, not mine. We're going to punch Penn State right in the mouth. And that's the attitude. That's a Mountaineer spirit right there. Get in there and fight for all you got. Maybe they are more talented. Maybe they are the bigger program. Maybe they are a blue blood. But get in there and punch them in the mouth and show them what it's like. 1984 all over again, right? 1984 all over again. We hadn't beat Penn State in 50 damn years. Like 1984 we did. They put it on the scoreboard finally. Now, we beat them quite a few times since then. But up until 1984, we really didn't have any success against Penn State at all.
Well, you got to understand. I mean, I'm telling you this, but I'm telling the folks that probably don't know or are watching this on video. West Virginia turned the corner. They got a stadium in 80, hired Nealon, and they kind of turned the corner. And 84 is when the stocks start going up. The players, and by 88, 89, they had an undefeated season. Not the 93 team was undefeated. So it seems like those were the years where they really kind of made pivotal changes in either coaching or facility development, coaching development, player recruiting, all combined, just put West Virginia on the map.
So another team that I think is a lot like West Virginia out of the Big 12 is TCU. So TCU is one of them teams that every once in a while they have a good run, like they did back in 2012, 2013, 2014, I believe, when they could have gotten to the playoffs. They didn't get in. They got left out. But TCU got into playoffs here a couple of years ago, beat Michigan, kind of like the same way with West Virginia from the 88 and then the 93 seasons. Really good, went undefeated, made the national championship game in 88, got left out in 93, but still, then look what happened to them just 10 years later when Rich Rod came into the scene, and then look at the years of success at Western University. And I think that's what TCU is looking at right now. I really believe TCU is going to have a good little run streak here in the next 5 years. I don't think it's this year, but I think like 5 years from now, TCU is going to have a really good little run stretch here like they did with West Virginia, like West Virginia had back in the 2000s. And I'm hoping that West Virginia is back to challenging that, and we can win a conference championship this year. That would be great. And if not this year, definitely next. But I would love to see us win a conference championship this year, and I think we've got the team to do it. We may not have that favorable schedule, though. If you look at our schedule, do you realize the first 8 games? Do you realize on the first 8 games on our schedule, we could legitimately lose 7 of them?
No,
I mean,
absolutely.
seriously, we really could.
I went through that index where the computer kind of, and it came with a 6.4. Vegas says 6.5 is what the win likelihood. 6.5 wins is what the computer's telling you. Now you can't win half a game, but that means it could be 5, it could be 7, and it's pretty much what it's picking. I could see them being 4-8. I could see them being 8-4. I think there's going to be a lot of close games. UCF last year.
I could see him being 11-1. I could see him being 11-1.
Absolutely.
With that one loss being the Penn State. I can see that.
Here's the West Virginia way. West Virginia is going to go in there and knock the socks off of teams that we don't think they have a chance of beating, and then they're going to shit the bed against Cincinnati. So they'll be 11-1 with a loss to Cincinnati, right?
I think every team's like that except for like your elite programs like Georgia and Alabama. They don't never lose a game they're not supposed to. Really, not really.
Clemson lays an egg against Pitt all the time.
Clemson lays an egg. I mean, they can't, for some reason they struggle against Syracuse every year. Yeah. So Clemson struggles with Syracuse, but West Virginia, they struggle sometimes. Last year we could have had 11-win season because we should have beat Oklahoma State, and guess what?
Yeah.
We definitely should have beat Houston. Definitely should have beat Houston.
11-win season. I mean, that's what people seem to forget. Dreams go to die at Pitt for a top 25 team. Yeah, I don't understand that. Pitt can't get out of their own way, but they can lose to a top 25 team. No, let's talk a little bit, Joey. There's a lot of talk, and I thought the 21st, I thought tomorrow was the deadline for some major muscle movement for the ACC. Now, I don't get as spun up on it as I was a few months ago, but I thought something would happen this week, and I haven't heard anything. So, I don't really think – I think we want the sky to fall more so on ACC than the sky is actually falling. Is it a good situation? I have two schools sue you? No. But it's going to take quite a long time being over 18 months for them to jump to another conference. So, it's not like we're going to wake up and they're going to be all of a sudden another conference. Do you think they're making too big of a deal about nothing with this conference realignment, or is it going to happen in 4 to 5 years?
Yeah, I really believe this. This is how I truly believe. I don't want anything to happen to ACC, and here's why. Let's say the ACC starts losing teams. Let's say Florida State and Florida State and North Carolina and a few other teams take off and they go to SEC, Big Ten, and the Big 12 left to pick up the remnants of them, and we get Louisville and Miami and maybe Pitt, Virginia Tech. Let's just say that. All right. Then what happens when the ACC starts folding up, right? Or it's got nobody left. They try to hold it strong. They bring in Washington State. They bring in Oregon State. They bring in the UConn and Gonzaga so they can be a basketball conference, right? They might do that and try to hold on to their Power 4 status. But if ACC is a strong Power 4 conference and the Big 12 is a strong Power 4 conference, that means there's two conferences that are like on the outside looking in at the SEC Big Ten, but that makes it harder for the SEC Big Ten to like push them away because there's two powerful conferences. You get rid of the ACC, now all of a sudden you're one conference. You are one Big 12. And it's not going to be that hard for the SEC and Big Ten to push your ass away. So I say, no, we should not wish for the ACC to collapse. People that are wishing for that, you're wishing for the wrong thing, in my opinion. Would I love to have Miami and Louisville and Pitt and Virginia Tech in the Big 12? Absolutely, I love it. But not at the expense of losing the ACC as a conference, because right now it's 2 against 2. 2 of the little conferences against 2 of the big boys. And it's hard for the big boys to get rid of them too. But if it goes down to 1, it won't be so hard. I'm afraid of that. So
yeah, I used to want the ACC to kind of shit the bed so I could have my Louisville, West Virginia, Virginia Tech, West Virginia, Pitt, West Virginia matchups, and also my Miami. Nostalgic Big East days of old, but I don't think that's gonna. I mean, you might get 1 or 2 teams, but it's never gonna happen. But for this last part of tonight, Joey, before we just shoot the shit, they released the probable starting lineup for Penn State game, and I just wanted to go through it real quick with you and see if you had any thoughts, or like for example, they have that Nico is the backup to Garrett Green. Khalil Wilkins and Ryder Burton are still on the squad. Man, I forgot about Wilkins. I forgot completely about him.
Yeah, and a couple of good players or future players. I mean, they're not gonna start this year unless something would happen to Garrett Green and Nico, heaven forbid. They're not gonna start this year. But I could see one of them getting a little bit of playing time, especially week 2, right? I could see Garrett Green playing the first quarter, Nico playing the second and third, and I could see one of them getting in the fourth quarter of week 2. So I could see that. Now, Nico, we know how strong of a quarterback he is. He's a phenomenal quarterback. He's great. He's probably better than Garrett Green when it comes to passing. Garrett Green's probably better at reading the defense right now. And the RPOs. Garrett Green's definitely better at RPOs. But Nico's probably the stronger passer and stuff. And so we don't lose anything. If Garrett Green goes down, I am not a bit worried. I don't even care if it happens during the Penn State game. Yeah. I would not be a bit worried with Nico Marchio in there.
Well, they prep for Garrett Green, and then they get then oh my gosh, this other kid's in there with a big arm. They have to adjust. I mean,
what would be great? What would be great though is they would think, oh, he's not going to be a rushing quarterback. He won't be rushing the ball like Garrett Green, and they would be wrong.
Yeah, he actually has some legs and he can use them. Not quite to the extent of Garrett Green, but it's just a small drop off, guys. It's not. I mean, we're talking tiny. But let's talk about the running backs. Jaheim White and C.J. Donaldson are the 2-headed monsters. Okay.
Yeah.
But where do they have Day Farmer playing? I thought he's more of a slot type of guy, right?
I think he's slot. I think he's in slot.
Yeah. But C.J.
This running back room.
Oh,
hey, listen.
Donaldson's a beast, and that Dior Hubbard.
You think about putting in C.J. Donaldson, 240-pound back, coming in there, and just running it down your throat for the first half of a football game. You're trying to tackle a 240-pound guy, and then the second half, they throw Jaheim White in there, who's shifty, fast, quick, and just runs right by you, and you're whipping on him. So they've done wore you down with a big boy. West Virginia was the number 1 rushing Power 4 team in the country last year. How many people know how many of the top 7 Power 4 rushing teams, how many of them are out of the Big 12? Does anybody know? There were 5 of them. 5 of the top 7 rushing programs in the country were out of the Big 12. That's right. They sure were. I don't remember the names of them. I looked them up today. I don't remember who they were. I know it was West Virginia. Iowa State was in there. Oklahoma State was in there. Utah was in there. And I think Arizona. But 5 of the top 7 rushing teams in the country last year were out of the Big 12. Power 4. Now, I'm not talking about overall, but I'm talking about Power 4. So you have some other teams that are in there a little bit ahead of others. Now, West Virginia, if you put FCS in there, West Virginia was like number 2 or 3 and not number 1. But just Power 4, West Virginia is number 1. But to have 5 out of the top 7 teams rushing out of the Big 12, that's pretty damn good. That tells you Big 12 made a shift. You remember back here in the Lincoln Riley, Dana Holgerson and era and stuff. It was like run and gun, fun and gun. Now we were running teams. We did run more than we passed, but it would be like 51% to 49%. It wouldn't be a big difference.
That's like
and
So
right, and the passing was better. The passing was better than rushing. We would average 3.5, 4 yards a carry. And but our passing would average 25 yards a pass. Like big crazy numbers. But then you look at this year, you look at this past year. Now all of a sudden we're averaging 6.5, 7 yards every time we touch the ball on a carry. Every time we carry the ball, we're averaging 6 to 7 yards. That's pretty damn amazing. I think that's really cool. I really believe that the Big 12 is going to have the number 1 rushing teams in America once again this year. And I can just see Oklahoma State and West Virginia and Kansas State especially, and West Virginia especially, just being these dominant forces on the ground. You look at Iowa State and their offensive line is just like 7th-year seniors because of COVID from tackle to tackle. You tell me they're not going to be able to run the ball? I mean, they're going to run the ball down your throat. They were one of the best running teams in the country last year. Now here they are returning with everybody. So Iowa State's going to be a really good team running the ball. West Virginia is going to be a phenomenal team running the ball. We know this. And the thing about it is here's what's key about this. So I told you 5 of the top 7 Power 4 rushing teams last year were out of the Big 12. But one of those was out of the Big 10. Anybody know which team that was out of the Big 10? It was in the top 7. It was Penn State. So if we look at a lot of these statistics too, like for instance, sacks given up, West Virginia was ranked really high on sacks given up or sacks allowed, right? Because we only give up 1 sack, not even 1 sack a game. It's like a half a sack a game. So that puts us in the top 5 in the country. We only give up like a half sack a game. Penn State didn't even give up that. They give up like a quarter of a sack a game. That put them at number 1. But West Virginia was right there in the top 5 with them. Penn State lost a lot more than West Virginia lost. Now, if you look at rushing, West Virginia number 1 rushing team in the country. Penn State was right there at like number 5 or 6.
They have a 2-headed
monster. But Penn State's right. But Penn State lost a little bit more than West Virginia lost. Now, not a tremendous amount. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that, but I just believe that the experience that West Virginia has returning this year is going to be enough to turn that page. I really, really like Jaheim White, C.J. Donaldson. I like Jalen Anderson. Hell, I like Hubbard and Dunbar too. I just think that our running back room is unstoppable. And you throw Garrett Green into that mix because you got to consider him a running back as well. So you got to throw Garrett Green in there too, who could throw the ball or run the ball. This is the best team at West Virginia since 2005, 2006.
I agree. And then, we got Jaden Bray from Oklahoma State, who knows a little bit about big-time college football. Now, Hudson Clement, walk-on that knows how to get it done now. Justin Robinson has been getting some love from the coaching staff, so, I'm encouraged about him. But what I'm excited about is the H receiver, Rodney Gallagher III, and Day Farmer. Guys, I'm sorry. Those two, I just want to see them touch the ball. The crowd is going to go nuts when those two get a couple receptions. Just saying.
Yeah, I agree. I look at the I look at a lot of other programs, media personalities, and they're putting down West Virginia. There's no respect whatsoever for West Virginia. Oh, they're going to finish 7th or 8th in the conference. You know, they're going to be going 7-5, most likely 7-5, but maybe they'll get an 8-4 season out of this. But there's no way they're going to finish at the top of the Big 12. I'm seeing that from a lot of media personalities, but they just don't understand West Virginia football. You can't look at our roster at West Virginia. Excuse me.
No,
you can't look at our roster of West Virginia and say, well, Hudson Clement's a walk-on, and Preston Fox is a walk-on.
It catches
everyone. They're walk-ons that earn scholarships, and they were overlooked. You're looking at West Virginia boys that they just don't get a lot of looks. Nobody looks at West Virginia boys. But guess what West Virginia does? They look at West Virginia boys, and they know Wyatt Milam might have been a highly recruited player and a high 4-star, but he wasn't recruited at the big name schools. But West Virginia wanted him, and he's going to be in the NFL, probably a first-round draft pick after this year.
Yeah,
we can spot talent in West Virginia. If you think West Virginia can't spot talent, all you got to do is look at our coaching history out of the state of West Virginia. Because if you look at the coaching history out of the state of West Virginia, and you look at like Fred Yost or Yost, however it's pronounced, Yost, Y-O-S-T, Nick Saban, Jimbo Fisher. Yeah, you look around the country at coaches. West Virginia's got more national championships accredited to the state of West Virginia than anybody else, probably. Yeah. Honestly, because we've had like 6 or 7 college football Hall of Fame head coaches at other colleges winning national championships. West Virginia people know how to spot talent, and we spot talent in Morgantown. Hudson Clement, Preston Fox, a couple of great talents that were spotted, brought in as preferred walk-ons, made the team, got your scholarship. Don't doubt them guys. Just because Rodney Gallagher was a high recruit, a big-time 4-star recruit. Rodney Gallagher was wanted by Penn State, Notre Dame, quite a few others up there, and West Virginia stole him. And yes, that was a huge steal for West Virginia. That's a lot of talent coming into Morgantown, and I love Rodney Gallagher, but I don't think that he's necessarily as good as Preston Fox and Hudson Clement right now at that wide receiver position, and those are walk-ons.
I think they're going to see Rodney Gallagher III play a little bit of defense. We'll have to see. Maybe that was just an experiment that kind of got a little bit of attention. But the offensive line of Remick, Yates, Hubbard, and Malone, I'll tell you, Yates and Hubbard, man, they have big shoes to fill, but I think they're going to do fine.
Yeah, Brandon Yates, I think Brandon Yates will be fine. I mean, he's got a lot of snaps under his belt.
Yep.
He's got a lot of snaps. There's not a big drop-off. I mean, mind you, there is some drop-off, but it's not a huge amount of drop-off between Zach Frazier and Brandon Yates. Now, Zach Frazier's going to be starting for the Pittsburgh Steelers here. So, and stuff. But Brandon Yates is probably one of them kind of players that will probably be in the NFL as well, according to how good he does this year as to where his draft stock is going to be. But he's going to be playing in the NFL too. There's no doubt about Brandon Yates is going to be an NFL player.
No, I just want to talk about the offense there. Next week I'll talk about the defense, but I just love the fact that we are like 11 days away and people are hyped up. I mean, up here people are hyped up. Are fans talking about this down in southern West Virginia?
They are. So I went out today. You remember my Let's Go flag that West Virginia sent me? I had it behind me here. Mm-hmm. So I went out today and took that flag down, bought me a flagpole, put it up out in my yard, and hung my flag. And I've had so many people stopping and just like hollering, "Yeah, let's go West Virginia!" and pointing at the flag and stuff, there's excitement down here. And after I put my flag out, I noticed a neighbor across from me put his flag out. A neighbor up the road put his flag out. Everybody's getting ready for college football down here in the South. So yes, we're ready to go.
Yeah, it's starting to heat up here. And it's surprising because I've talked to folks that work at like Lids and Dick's, and they say that they sell more, get requests for more West Virginia stuff, and they don't have it in stock, and then they have to, they tell, but right in Washington, PA is where they stopped selling it, and it's interesting that it's regional, but I love the fact that the Flying WV is seen. You drive 6-7 hours, and that's what you see. You can't drive more than an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours before you stop seeing. You only see pit stuff for maybe 40 minutes.
Yeah,
Penn State stuff for maybe 3 or 4 hours, but it's just such a huge area, and you know what? There's not a lot of people in those trees, as the old ball coach used to say, you can't recruit from those trees. But just the breadth of the area that the Mountaineer Nation entails is just mind-boggling. But that's all I have for tonight. Joey, do you have anything else you want to touch on before we close it up?
No, I'm fine, man. I'm just ready for some football.
Me too.
How many people? I'm wondering this. Shane, do you do this? So you sit there on YouTube and just like it'll give you a suggestion. You'll say, "Oh yeah, I forgot about that game." It might be West Virginia, Louisville, 2006. It might be West Virginia, Alabama, 2014. Little games like that, just watch them. I mean, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, that would be. That's. I just saw your private message. I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention, but no. I'll tell you what, guys, it's good time. I can't wait, and I get caught down that rabbit hole, and I will just watch video upon video, especially old highlights and stuff, especially with Tavon Austin retiring. There's been a lot of his highlights. But, if you didn't get enough of us the last show or this show, you can catch us on Thursdays. So,
well, I tell you what. So I know you got to run, but I don't have to go anywhere. I don't need to go anywhere. If anybody would want to join me on the stream and just talk some football, hell, I'm fired up, man. I'm ready to do it. So I'm gonna post a link, and anybody that wants to join me, since you have to go, since I don't think you can stay all night, you got to work and stuff. I don't have to work, so I can do this. Anybody would like to join me? I posted a link right there. It's under the West Virginia Mountaineer Mafia thing. Come on in, hang out. PF, Dave Brown, Steeler Nation, anybody, Jackson Johnson, come in here. Hell, we could just hang out and talk some college football. I'm ready, man. I am excited. I'm fired up for college football. And I was going to go into another stream tonight and talk some college football, but I've kind of decided against that. I'm willing to just sit here and talk college football.
Let's
do that.
I thought you did.
So anybody would like to come in, let's just talk some college football. We're not going to have near as many people in it as that other stream will, but that's okay. That's all right. Look here. Got people coming in already. There, Mr. Dave Brown.
Oh,
what's up, Dave?
Not a whole lot. Since the last time we talked about my team, I found out I didn't realize it was like Saturday night when I talked to y'all about the Miami, Louisville schedule and whatnot. And then I found out that afternoon in the last in a scrimmage that we lost our top wide receiver. So now I'm having to back down a little bit from earlier predictions. I'm even more scared. I'm hoping somebody else can step up.
That's good.
Well,
now who do you have on your roster? Do you have somebody that you have a little bit more confidence in, or a little bit of confidence in?
Well, I think we have a couple of slightly used receivers from last year, slightly used, like they're not new, like a used car. But, no big names. I mean, we've had some great receivers over the years. I'm just looking for somebody to step up. And we picked up one from the portal that was supposed to be really good, but he's the one that broke his collarbone Saturday. And so, it's all up in the air with all these first-year players. They're from everywhere. They're not the biggest schools necessarily, but everybody's getting them. And they are apparently some quality players, or they wouldn't be sought after, And a lot of schools are getting hitting the portal, if you will. And it helps to fill in gaps and stuff like that. But like you said, West Virginia has a lot of returning starters themselves. They didn't really need a lot from the portal, except maybe some backups and stuff, to increase their depth. So anything is possible.
I can remember. Dave, I remember Louisville back about 2000. You'll have to help me with the year here. 2009 or 2010. Y'all had a wide receiver by the name of Devontae Parker, and I don't think a lot of people were real high on him. I don't think a lot of people were real high on him there at the beginning, and all of a sudden he turned out to be probably one of your best receivers in history at Louisville. Well,
so it was a little bit before 09 and 2010. It was in like 2011 to 2014. That was during the last 3 years of the Charlie Strong era and the first year back of Bobby Petrino.
Yeah. I knew he was somewhere in that area. I couldn't remember the year. So thank you, Jackson.
Oh, you're welcome. 09 was a disaster for Louisville, but like 07, that was like the definition of disappointing preseason team.
Yeah, we had that one year where we were like undefeated until we lost to like Rutgers or something.
That was 2006. You lost to Rutgers on Thursday Night Football on ESPN, unfortunately.
It just ruined everything. We had a chance for
you beat the
playoff spot.
But matter of fact,
you beat West Virginia in overtime. You beat West Virginia in overtime in 2006, and then we beat you in overtime in 2007.
West Virginia 2006. West Virginia came in and.
But it was the following week. It was the following week after Louisville beat West Virginia that they lost to somebody they shouldn't have lost to. It wasn't Rutgers. I don't even remember, but it was like the following week. But I'm sure it's because that game, man, that game went to 3 or 4 overtimes. It was an amazing game. It was just back and forth. So Rutgers, they probably put everything they had into it.
Well, as far as I recall, Mark D'Antonio in Cincinnati caught Rutgers in a trap after they upset Louisville. You know what's a shame about 2006? There was never an at-large team from the Big East at a BCS Bowl. That's the shame thing. That's the shame about it.
Now, you being an Alabama fan, I thought you was going to say, you know what's a shame about 2006? We sucked. Alabama sucked that year.
Oh, you ain't got to tell me twice about that stuff. That was a disaster. But I will say, though, it was a blessing in disguise because it brought us Coach Saban.
Almost brought you Rich Rodriguez. I knew
that was coming. Oh, man, that's
how times would have how everything would have been different if you got Rich Rod. I mean,
I think so too. Look, Rich Rod, I think the culture at Alabama and West Virginia are similar. Honestly, I believe there's a lot of culture similarities there, and I think the culture at Michigan was not even close to a Rich Rod culture, and I think that was his problem at Michigan. And he talked about that he needed to change the culture up there. I don't think he needed to change the culture. He needed to change into the culture of Michigan, right? Jim Harbaugh went there and had great success, but he understood the culture of Michigan. I don't think Rich Rod understood it. If he'd have went to Alabama, I think Rich Rod could have had some great success at Alabama because he wouldn't have had to change nothing.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
But yeah,
and I know a lot of people call me crazy.
I'm looking back at some of these past ball games, and oh man,
yeah,
LSU Notre Dame. I mean, Notre Dame got smacked.
Had no business losing to, and they had lost. I can't remember what year that was, but
who are you talking about?
UConn.
You lost to UConn in 2010.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it was 2000. It was either 2007 2007, I think, or 2000.
No, you lost to
See,
South Florida and
UConn-
Pittsburgh in 07.
I know, but no, we didn't lose to them. What I'm going to say is they came into Morgantown with the chance to win the Big East. They just had to beat West Virginia, and West Virginia just stomped them. I mean, it was a really lopsided score, really, really bad. And
Well-
UConn at that point, I'm thinking they were either undefeated or they had one loss. And this was like the end of the season, last game of the season, and UConn just got absolutely stomped by West Virginia. I think that was 2008, if I'm not mistaken. But hell, I don't remember.
Oh, they
You probably
have Rutgers and North Carolina on their schedule. Those are like UConn's 2 losses. I remember there was like Virginia Tech, Nebraska in week 5 of the 08 season. And I know like Wake Forest, Navy played each other. It was on ESPNU. Navy beat Wake Forest in week 5, but then Wake Forest and Navy played each other in the Eagle Bank Bowl in 2008. Wake Forest won the rematch.
Yeah.
I'm surprised nobody remembers that game.
I don't know how you guys can remember all that. That's amazing.
I can't. I have to Google everything.
Google helps me a lot.
I do remember my first game back in 1965. First
see?
college football game.
Who'd you watch?
It was U of L versus somebody. I have no idea. I can't remember really. But it's my first game. I was 6 or 7 years old.
Mine was Penn State, right?
So 2000, it was 2007. UConn came into Morgantown, and they had a good record. They had a chance to win the Big East, and West Virginia just destroyed them 66-21.
Yeah.
Then the last time they played UConn was in 2011, and West Virginia beat them 43-16.
Oh man.
UConn everybody talks about, well, UConn used to have a really good football program. Now they're 7-1 against West Virginia. They played 8 times.
3 years.
No.
They played 8. They played 8 times. They've lost 7 of them. So that West Virginia is 7-1 against UConn is what I meant. Yeah, they played 8 times. UConn's lost 7 of them, and none of them have been that really close. Other than like 2009, it was like 28, 22, 28, 21. I can remember that, but yeah. So it's like a Cincinnati coming into the Big 12, and oh wow, they're going to be so good. Yeah. We played them like 21 times. They've won like 3 times against West Virginia. Cincinnati's beat West Virginia like 3 times. West Virginia has never lost to an FCS program. Never lost to a lower division program. One of the only teams to ever do that. Never lost to a lower division football team. So, oh, look here. We got some in the back room. I just now noticed it. Hey, Kenny.
Hey,
I didn't see you back here, buddy. Sorry, man.
hey, no.
How long
I'm
you been sitting back here?
about 5 minutes, but
You
that's
didn't
all
recognize him with his shirt on.
right. Joey,
yeah, he's usually giving us nude pics.
I have to say to you, I'm very, very sorry about the last time. I hope you didn't feel like I was attacking you. I wasn't. I was.
You talking to me?
And that was
Attacking me? I
not
don't even remember the last time.
No,
I know.
I don't remember yesterday.
It's all good, Kenny. It's all good.
He was probably attacking Jackson
Jackson. Yeah, blame it on Jackson.
Probably.
because he's
I mean, he's an Alabama fan. What do you expect? You got to attack an Alabama fan. So, yeah, screw that shit. No, hell, Kenny. You ain't attacking me. It's all right. It's all cool.
okay. The day it was the Locked On Big 12, Drake Toll and Mark, that is the ones that had spreaded all this news. And that's the only
Yeah,
one.
and Drake Toll's been preaching a lot about all these teams coming into the Big 12 Florida State coming to the Big 12 next week. I mean, he's like the new golden blue dude. I love him. I think Drake Toll's really good and stuff, just like golden blue dude. But come on, he's just throwing stuff out there. He's spitting into a fan and seeing where it lands, and that's what he's doing. He's probably got a map on the wall, and he's probably spitting in a fan and seeing where it blows to spit and saying that team's coming into the Big 12 next week. All right, so next week it might land on Alabama. And he'll have Jackson on here talking about how Alabama's coming into the Big 12. You know, look, I can't put a lot of stock into J. Toll. I like J. Toll. I love him. I watch every one of his shows, every one of his videos. I watch them all. But let's face it.
I like the beginning
spitting
theme
in the wind.
song. I always like the beginning theme song where he has on the intro where he goes da 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 da.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Jake's a great guy. He really is. So Drake Toll's a great guy. He really is. Another one too that I love, and I think a lot more people ought to watch. Heartland College Sports.
Yeah.
I love Heartland College Sports. Anybody watch that?
Yeah.
You know,
Getting spot on.
Heartland
Getting
College
spot on with a lot of things.
yeah, Heartland College Sports. So yeah, I mean, I talked to him just the last week. We emailed each other a couple of times. We're going to do a show together and stuff.
Oh,
He does a great job.
Sports. I love that.
Yeah, Pete Mondu.
I'm
So
subscribed to
he does a great job. He does an amazing job covering the Big 12. That's who. If I want a little bit of news, I watch him. I don't watch John Kurtz. Haven't watched John Kurtz in 2 years. I'll be honest with you. I just can't get into John Kurtz. I do watch, like I said, Drake Toll. I do. What's that? Oh crap! What's his name at the Big 12?
Shit on
Locked on Big 12. Drake C. Toll, whatever. I watch him. I watch him. Watch all of his videos.
Yeah, Drake C. Toll is the host of Locked On Big 12. The guy that was
Right.
there before him, you must be thinking of Josh Neighbors, who's at 365 Sports.
Well, yeah, Josh Neighbors. So Josh Neighbors. Matter of fact, Josh and I had a meeting because I was going to bring him on to the Voice of College Football before he got the job at the other network. And you know, he had a choice to make, and he made his choice. I still like Josh Neighbors. Still love Josh Neighbors. Does a great job. But yeah, Drake Toll, good guy. Does a great job. He's one of the better hosts. Has one of the better shows. But come on, guys, he's spitting in the wind. I do not see UConn and Gonzaga coming into the Big 12 when we're not even looking at Washington State and Oregon State.
No.
Last week it was Washington State and Oregon State for him. Remember? Everybody remember that? And the week before that it was Florida State and Miami, and Florida State and Clemson. And before that, it was Miami and North Carolina. It's like, we'll throw all this stuff. It's like MH Burr on Twitter. It's MH Burr on Twitter on steroids. This is going to happen. And then when it happens, he puts out a big tweet and says, I told you it was going to happen. Well, of course, you predicted it because you predicted every damn thing. It's just how it works. So,
Hey, Joey, this right here could happen too. Not a lot of people's thinking about this because Brett Yormark has been wanting to go coast to coast. Now, if they pull in UConn and Gonzaga, why not pull in Washington State and Oregon State? That would put us up to 20.
Well, that's just it though. So let me ask you something, Kenny. Why pull in UConn and Gonzaga for an extra $50 million in revenue in basketball when you could maybe have a chance to get Miami, who probably has $50 million in revenue in basketball alone, and another $50 million in football alone, and maybe a chance to pull in, I don't know, even if it's a Louisville, right? Louisville probably has revenue in basketball of $50 million and in football of 35, 40 million or more. So you have a choice of UConn and Gonzaga in basketball only, or you can get Louisville and Miami in football and basketball.
Well, let me throw this.
Why would you, if you're the Big 12, why would West Virginia vote? Just asking you, Kitty. Why would West Virginia vote to pull in? Why would West Virginia vote to pull in Gonzaga and UConn, knowing that there might be a possibility to grab Miami and Louisville? Just
I will explain this. Why not bring in UConn? Then you pull in Virginia Tech, you pull in Louisville, and then you pull in Syracuse.
why?
That's like, hey, Kenny, it's like having you have an SUV, okay? You can pick up like a couple girls that are like 8s, or you can max that thing out and maybe put a couple 2s and 3s on the roof rack. You know what I mean? It doesn't make
I'm gonna
sense.
tell y'all something that y'all don't know about UConn. UConn last year brought in $93 million.
No.
Yes.
No, they didn't.
Coons did the breakdown on his show and went into UConn. UConn got in $17 million from donations, plus their endowments, plus the football and the basketball. It added up to $93 million.
That's plus football and basketball. Your program needs to make at least $100 million just from football.
Yeah, just from football. I mean, it really does.
That's not really a good mark. That's like 75th, maybe 80th.
And then time you figure, you mentioned something there.
They brought in more money.
But you mentioned something. You mentioned something there. You mentioned something that says a lot. Pretty much subsidies. A lot of the stuff you mentioned there was subsidies. All right. Subsidies, you can't look at subsidies. You really can't. And so you have to look at what they're bringing in. That I'm gonna tell you right now, UConn's bringing in nothing compared to Oregon State and Washington State. Absolutely pennies on the dollar compared to them.
Because of all the properties and stuff that they won in court cases. Yeah, I understand that. But
no, it's not. That's not even that. Even before that, it's just been before that. There's no comparison there. There's none. UConn made $24 million in basketball last year. That was their big earning revenue sport. $24 million. Now you got to think they got a lot of sports that make no money, and so that basketball money had to pay for those sports, including their football team, because their football team didn't make a lot of money either. So they lost money, man. They got subsidies, and it made them look like they made some money, but no, they didn't. Honestly, that UConn just didn't.
Well, see, the last time we went into all this info, then we pulled in the four corner schools. Do you think this is just to distract us to pull in 4 ACC schools?
Maybe.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that at all. It's a possibility, but I'm not saying that at all. I think that people are farting in the wind and seeing which way the smell goes. All right, and that's what they're doing. It's just like, what's the highlight of the week? All right, so things have quieted down in the ACC. You're not hearing anything out of the ACC right now. So what's the best thing to talk about? Well, hey, before the ACC, it was UConn and Gonzaga. That was the big name schools for basketball coming into the Big 12. So they're just going back to that. I do not listen. It can happen. Surely UConn and Gonzaga would be great additions to the Big 12 in basketball, and UConn coming in football, and maybe 2 or 3 years down the road being able to compete in football in the Big 12. That could be great additions. But I don't see that move being made.
And the women's
But I don't see that move being made. Right. But I still don't see that move being made when you've still got a Miami and a Louisville and a Pitt and a Virginia Tech that may be on the table. Yeah. Might be on the table here in the next year or two. So I think Brett Yormark is desperate, but I think he's posturing. I think he's trying to let the big ACC schools that may need a place to go, let them know that, hey, I don't need you. I'll go up here and get UConn and Connecticut. So we'll just throw that, or UConn and Gonzaga. So I'll just throw that out there, that and so it might have just like been something that he threw out there just to posture them a little bit. I don't think there's any meat to the bone. I don't think there's any meat on that bone. Jackson, do you?
No. I mean, if a lot of ACC teams, like say we see like a mass exodus from the ACC, I'm thinking we'll see like Oregon State, Washington State join the ACC, because it was like
Yeah.
none of us thought
Yeah.
we would be seeing SMU go to the ACC alongside Stanford and Cal, but here we are. I mean, if we see like Florida State, Clemson go, you know what? We're sick of this shit. We're out of
Yeah.
here. We
Well,
see Miami leave, North Carolina leave. We see Virginia Tech, Pitt, Louisville leave. Then we're going to see like a mass addition of possibly Washington State, Oregon State, Boise State, Memphis, Tulane, and another school that just hasn't come to my mind yet. San Diego State.
But see,
I said, I look at. Sorry,
I'm sorry about
I'm
that.
sorry, again.
I see possibly they did it to also scare them to, because if Brett Yormark brings in Gonzaga and UConn, he would have to bring in Washington State and Oregon State to offset. So
Well, he don't have to, but at the same time, I look at it this way: he's posturing the ACC teams because here's what every ACC team knows. That maybe y'all guys watching some of these other podcasters and believe in them. But here's what every ACC team knows: that if Clemson and Miami and North Carolina and Virginia become available to the SEC and Big Ten, all of a sudden the SEC and Big Ten are going to be open for business. Bottom line, they might say they're not looking right now. That's only because they can't be looking. They can't be saying, yeah, we're interested in Florida State and Clemson. They can't say that because of legal
Not this
issues.
time of year.
So, right. So they're gonna say we're not interested in expanding right now. We're happy right where we are. In the meantime, in the back room, they're talking to Clemson, Florida State, North Carolina, and Virginia. Right. That's the four schools they want.
Whatever's going on in the back room, who knows?
Yeah, and nobody knows what's going on back there. I do know one person that may know what's going on back there, but he's not talking because I talked to him the other day and he's not talking. So I think that it could be an interesting scenario though if Florida State. That's why I'm saying the Big 12 is not going to take Connecticut and Gonzaga just simply because the ACC is just unknown right now. If Florida State and Clemson win this lawsuit and can get the hell out of there, the SEC is going to open their door. The Big Ten is going to open their door. Don't think for a second they're not. I mean, come on, it's Florida State and it's Clemson.
Well,
so you're going to take them, and then all of a sudden, the Big 12 has a chance to get Louisville and Miami and NC State and Pitt or Virginia Tech or whoever they want, right? Mm-hmm. Then I think you see the ACC say, okay, now we've got to save our conference, and they take in Oregon State, Washington State, maybe a Memphis, a Tulane. They just start going anywhere and everywhere they can to pick up teams. So that's what I see happening. I do not see this UConn Gonzaga more than anything than posturing.
Right. I also seen too today that they said if Florida State and Clemson leaves, that the ESPN is going to throw out the contract and re-up in 2025.
There's a lot of possibilities that could happen here. Let me tell you another possibility that could happen. Let me just throw this out there. Let's just say nothing happens between now and 2031. Nothing. Nobody moves conferences. Everybody's happy with 2031. What happens in 2031? What happens if the ACC says, okay, here's a West Virginia program that had a couple of bad years in 2019, 20, and 21. but they've been coming along ever since. And now here they are, and they've won a couple of Big 12 championships. And we can use them and get them in the ACC because that'll raise their TV revenue money a lot in the ACC, bringing in West Virginia. So then all of a sudden you have that. So just staying out of the blue, what happens in 2031 if West Virginia goes to the ACC, guys? What happens to the Big 12?
I don't see that happening. I'd rather stay in the Big 12 because Big 12 is more stable.
But not in 2031. Not in 2031. If Florida State and Clemson don't leave the ACC, nothing happens. There's no movement, and all of a sudden, Florida State and Clemson are just getting a little bit more money from the ACC, and they're happy and they stay there. I can see the ACC looking to expand come about 2031 and saying, "Hey, let's go after West Virginia and TCU. Let's go after West Virginia and Kansas. Let's go after a couple of teams." And the ACC trying to build their conference up and get a little bit more money in there. Would
They're
West
gonna
Virginia
change-
turn that down?
They're going to change names to the Atlantic Pacific A&P Conference, the APAC.
Oh, here's a
APAC.
good one.
And they
Hey,
can
so
take
like
UConn and
grocery
Gonzaga and all the
I
rest.
think-
We'll go to. I'd love to go to the Big 12.
The grocery store conference, the AMP conference, right? Grocery store conference.
Exactly.
The Atlantic Pacific Conference, APC.
Oh man,
To be honest,
I'll be right
I
back.
think it would be a bad move.
Well, I think
It's already bad when they brought Cal and Stanford in.
SMU.
well,
They
Utah's,
passed it as the ACC when they did. That's just me. I'm a geographical.
Utah's coach is getting ready to retire.
Kyle went. Oh, obviously. He's
And
pretty
he
much
just-
setting it up.
This is what's going to happen. He spilled the beans. It's going to be SEC, Big Ten. They're going to kind of have a push for, I think 24 teams each, and it's if you're in the top 48, you're going to be okay. And then it also Rands.
I just wonder how many rivalries will get destroyed by the 24 team conferences. Like, I wonder which ones get destroyed. I mean, because
Well, here's the good thing about it, though. You could still keep them alive by doing, non-conference games with them.
Or make them independents.
Yeah.
yeah.
But hey, guys, we're going to have to wrap it up because I'm not a full StreamYard member, so I only have so many hours.
Okay.
Till next month. But would you guys like to come on again next Tuesday? We'll just make this thing.
Oh, yeah, I'll do it.
I'll see. I'll look at my schedule, see if it's available, and I'll make sure I make time for you.
So, Joey, I was asking the boys if they'd want to pop in maybe next week, end the show again like we did tonight. So, Jackson's going to check his schedule, and we'll make this a routine thing.
Hell yeah. Hey, can I say something real quick? I know you want to get off, but I'm going to say something real quick. I really believe there's more of a chance of West Virginia going to the ACC in the next 10 years than there are of UConn and Gonzaga, Washington State, and Oregon State coming to the Big 12. That's my thought. I think there's more of a chance.
Yeah, I mean, I'm already thinking Washington State, Oregon State to the Big 12. That's wishful thinking. But shoot, Gonzaga, UConn to the Big 12. Now you're really smoking something.
Yeah. I just don't see it. I just don't see it happening. Look, I like I say, I love Drake Toll. I think he's a great guy. I think he's got a great show. But come on, he has been parting in the wind and seeing which way the field goes. And that's the team he's sticking that week. It's coming into the Big 12. And to his credit, he's not going to be the type, though, that when it happens, that he's going to say, I told you this was going to happen. To his credit, he won't do that. What's that, Shane?
He's going to be like, you heard it here on Locked On.
Yeah. I don't think he's like that. I don't think Drake would do that. But Drake will say, we told you this was a possibility. We told you this could happen, and he'll be right.
enjoyable.
He'll be right because he's predicted everything. Hell, last year Memphis was coming to the Big 12. I mean, come on. So
Wait and see, Joey, what the Simpsons say, and then it's going to come true.
mhm.
So, well, guys,
All right.
Well, I agree with y'all. I agree with y'all. We shouldn't water down the Big 12. And I'm sorry for cutting you off, Shane.
No worries. No, I'm glad you agree. But guys, thanks again for popping on. It's been a great show. Joey,
Thank you for having us.
Jackson, Kenny, thanks again, and we'll see you next Tuesday. Don't jump off the stream. I have a few questions for all y'all.
Okay.